Thanks for joining us today. I'm Cody Holyoke. Another election's in the books. Thousands of voters made some important decisions affecting futures in both our states. Let's get to the big race we've been following in Wyandotte County, Kansas. Nonprofit and education leader Krista Watson will be the unified government's next mayor and CEO. She told us last week tackling property taxes is priority number one. She says she's ready to get started.
We have taken a very long time in getting to a place where the people feel comfortable with their government. And I want Wyandotte County to know I'm going to do everything in my power to bring that trust, excitement, and accountability more than anything to the residents of Wyandotte County.
The mayor-elect told us last week she also wants to focus on developing thousands of vacant lots in the county and reinvest in parts of Wyandotte County that have been overlooked in the past. She'll become mayor in mid-December. Watson will be working with 4 new county commissioners who won their respective races last week, representing the 1st, 5th, 8th, and 2nd district at large. In Missouri, more than 60% of independence voters decided to keep the school district's 4-day school week around for another decade. District's been using this model for more than 2 years now, but a Missouri law forced a vote to keep it in place. And Jackson County voters overwhelmingly voted to make the county assessor an elected position. The move comes after years of strife over sky-high assessments. And the very next day, County Executive Phil LeVota fired Assessor Gail McCann Beatty and ordered some major changes.
Relief is here, and accountability is part of that process, and it starts today.
LeVota also announced the rollback of higher assessments from 2023. He'd already got the ball moving on lowering commercial assessments this year. Let's get to the heart of our results with our roundtable of journalists. Please welcome back Brian Ellison, host contributor with KCUR, and KMBC9 political reporter Michael Mahoney. All right, let's start with the Jackson County assessor vote and the subsequent changes by the county executive. A lot happened in a very short amount of time right after Election Day.
That's right. Well, I think the vote was overwhelming in favor of moving to an elected assessor, but you're right after Election Day, interim county executive Phil LeVota moving quickly to first ask Gail McCann Beatty, the assessor, to resign, and then, of course, firing her when she declined to do that. I think this is an interesting moment for Jackson County. I think those who would have supported Gail McCann Beatty would have said she was just doing her job. She was trying to catch up on the county's assessments. But the reality for her was that working under Frank White Jr., she was the face of what became one of the county's biggest kerfuffles in years, and it was difficult to see how it was sustainable for her to continue in the role.
Yeah, I don't think anybody was surprised by her dismissal. I think the thing that may be impressing most voters is the fact how quickly things are rolling on this. LeVota, as you said in the soundbite there, relief is here and it's already happening right now, and that's exactly what taxpayers in Jackson County wanted to hear. They wanted to hear and see some action quickly, and that's what they've got.
Though interestingly, because that election of the assessor doesn't take place until 2028, Phil LeVota will actually have the power to appoint another assessor, and we'll see how it goes.
Right, there'll be someone in between. We'll
be
watching that. Let's go to Wyandotte County. In a little more than a month, Krista Watson will be the next mayor and CEO of the unified government. As we said, working with some new commission members. She wants to offer some stability that hasn't really been there for a while.
Yeah, this was a bit of a surprise in the sense that Watson finished second in the primary and then made up the ground and defeated Rose Mulvaney Henry, and she's pledging stability. I go back to something that the retiring mayor Tyrone Garner has been saying lately, is the fact that it's really a weak mayor form of government over in KCK, in the fact that the mayor doesn't have a vote on the Board of Commissioners, and so he has to strong arm the Board of Commissioners to try and get his agenda done, and that's got to be very frustrating, and Watson's going to face the same dilemma.
I do think the results in Wyandotte County do point to sort of a trend, not just the results, but actually the way the whole campaign went. It was pretty issues focused. It talks about the qualifications of the candidates. It really brought down the temperature from what has been a pretty acrimonious political scene in KCK over the last several terms for mayors. There still is acrimony on the commission, and so it will be interesting to see if the unified government takes it down a notch in the coming months.
I think the job of the next mayor, Mayor-elect Watson, in this is going to be restoring trust between City Hall and the unified government and its taxpayers and its voters. That has eroded away over the last 3 one-term mayors, and it's going to be a long road getting that back on track. Dealing with the property taxes is going to be a long road getting that back, trying to revitalize the inner city economy is going to be a long road back. So the new mayor's got a lot on her plate.
All right. I do want to end with the other bombshell political news that happened in Kansas last week, with Republican leaders essentially shelving plans for now to redraw the state's congressional maps. What's the takeaway here?
Well, I think there was always going to be an uphill battle, because a lot of Kansas legislators, including Republicans, were concerned that changing the map might put actually other Republican-held positions at risk. I also think Sharice Davids has shown a lot of resilience to efforts to limit her ability to win, and I think there might be some concern about putting some of that at risk as well.
Yeah, and the idea of splitting Johnson County between 2 different congressional districts, you know, it leaves a bad taste in the mouths of some legislators. Not necessarily all of them in Johnson County, but there was some reluctance, obviously, because they didn't get the needed votes in the House to go along with this. Now, this doesn't go away. The leadership in both the House and Senate are saying we're going to make this a top priority when the session starts in January. But the Sharice Davids and her allies got some breathing room, no question about it. But the battle is still ongoing.
We'll be watching when January rolls around. Michael Mahoney, Brian Ellison, thank you. Count on KMBC 9 News and Heart of the Matter to follow the impact of the decisions you've made at the polls. Bring you updates on air and online at KMBC.com.